Hello everyone. In today's video, I am going to be discussing the MBTA's Green Line extension in Somerville and Medford and share my thoughts about the extension. Most of the tracks for the Green Line extension are actually located upon commuter rail right-of-way, which is already owned by the MBTA. The GLX serves 6 new stations, with the D branch now terminating at Union Square and the E branch now terminating at Medford Tufts with 4 infill stations. Leechmere Station was completely rebuilt, and a new Green Line car house was built at the Innerbelt Yard, and an order was placed for 24 Type 9 light rail vehicles to bolster and increase the MBTA's Green Line fleet. Now let's talk about the extension itself. So I believe the extension was actually planned to go further into Medford, but due to budget cuts, that was not possible. But overall, the Green Line extension, in my opinion, was absolutely needed. All the trains get sufficient ridership, and the stations are sometimes pretty crowded, so they're definitely getting some good use. Now, the land use around the Green Line extension is also really good. The stations are surrounded by dense housing and development. I remember seeing some videos of the construction of the extension, and a lot of buildings were popping up near the newly constructed right-of-way and along the tracks. Now let's talk about the construction of the GLX. Planning started in 2006 and the extension was supposed to open in 2014. The opening of the Green Line extension actually took place 9 years after the MBTA said it would originally open, opening in 2022 and 2023. Now, some of these delays could have been avoided, but with the COVID-19 pandemic, construction pausing is understandable. It shouldn't have taken 9 years to extend the Green Line. That's just way too much time. When the Green Line extension was in planning, it was expected to cost close to $1 billion to construct, but that soon ballooned to $2 billion, almost double the cost of the original contract. Because of the ballooning budget, some cuts needed to be made. Almost all of the stations were planned to have elevators, but 2 of them did not receive elevators in favor of cheaper pedestrian ramps. But the stations are still fully accessible. The station designs themselves were also scaled back in design. If you look at the Green Line extension stations, a lot of them are just quite simple, having just a basic roof and basic amenities. They don't look that fancy. Now, I personally believe that a lot of the Green Line extension issues came from corruption and poor choices of contractors. I remember watching the news in the mid-2010s and seeing interviews about people complaining that the construction of the Green Line extension was taking way too long and was going way over budget. Now, one of the biggest cuts made to the stations themselves is that they actually do not have fare gates. All the Green Line extension stations do not have fare gates, and to operate on a proof of payment system, which is rarely enforced. So if someone wants to get on a Green Line on one of the stations, they're supposed to tap their trolley card on the ticket machine, validate, tap again, take a little slip of paper and show it to the driver, or just pay on the train using contactless. But this is rarely enforced, and fare evasion on the Green Line extension is rampant. I have seen transit ambassadors at some of the Green Line extension stations, but they do not have the authority to enforce fares. The MBTA is currently hiring people for fare engagement, which is basically a customer service and fare enforcement job that'll mostly take place at the Green Line extension, so pretty soon the MBTA may have people checking if people validated their fares. In my opinion, these stations lacking fare gates is a major concern, as it'll decrease revenue for the T, and it'll cost even more money to enforce fares. Now, when the Green Line extension opened, train service was actually pretty reliable. The E branch had trains about every 8 to 10 minutes, which is not that bad. The D branch sometimes had delays, but the junction between Leechmere and East Somerville can sometimes cause delays with trains converging onto the same tracks. In the past 3 years, the GLX has actually been shut down 3 times for track work. The tracks were actually constructed out of gauge, as they were about a quarter of an inch too far apart. That may not sound like a lot, but in the railroad industry, the track gauge must be 4 feet 8.5 inches for optimal operation. Because of the tracks being out of gauge, the MBTA shut down the Green Line extension for about a few weeks and implemented a lot of slow zones, reducing the speed to about 6 miles an hour. And under Mr. Ang's track improvement program, the Green Line extension was shut down about twice for more track work and other improvements. And now the Green Line extension works almost perfectly, with many thousands of riders using it daily. In my opinion, the Green Line extension, even though flawed and having poor construction, and having a number of cuts made to it, is actually really good and serves a lot of residents in the Somerville and Medford neighborhoods of Boston. It is usually pretty quick getting riders downtown, fast and efficiently. The land use around the stations is really good. So here's my final thoughts about the entire Green Line extension. Yes, it did take a long time to build, and a lot of cuts were made, some of them not being the best. But overall, I think the Green Line extension was absolutely necessary. It serves a few thousand people daily and provides reliable public transit to Somerville and Medford, Massachusetts. This is a Boston Transit Productions video. Please like and subscribe, and have a nice day.